Welcome to High Oracle's Reiki Spiritual Healing Channel. And in the older times, in the olden days, in the past, our mothers would not let us be around certain people. And the thought of this, I had to do this video because the thought of this is because the negative energy can attract and it can jump from person to person. So those people who, did not go to the holy spaces, did not go to church, they ran, different types of houses. They were on drugs. They were, alcoholics. Those young women who had gotten pregnant out of wedlock, who had bastard children. Let me understand and make you understand what bastard children are. Children that were born out of wedlock, children also who did not know their fathers. Okay, those were considered bastard children. And you could not be around an unwed mother. Your parents would not let you, play with a young lady that had gotten pregnant out of wedlock, because that negative energy could jump on your daughter. So you were taught to, that you were to keep your distance away from those types of women and men. And so I wanted to bring you this this type of understanding, because when you also have other reasons that your child could become a bastard child. Having multiple baby daddies, or having different women pregnant, and if the father was deceased, then and that child didn't get a chance to know their father, that would be considered also a bastard child. So these derogatory terms, it was derogatory because of the fact of the matter that we needed those terms, that having hair and nails did not set you apart in society. Having a job, just having money and having a car, being one of those people who are a hustler and a pimp, those types of men, did not make you a father. It did not make you a person. If you were a loose woman, if you were a loose man, then a lot of the people who were upright in society and community would shun you. You were despised. You were the scourge of the earth. Okay, so I have a lot to explain in this video. When you are unmarried, then you open yourself up for different types of spirits to attack you, to attack your lineage. That becomes a generational curse. Those are the people who would, usually in society, again, be looked down upon and separated. Those are the ones who were treated with, a disdain, that I don't want to be around that person. Those are the ones, and the difference is, it did not matter if that person was molested, if it was incest, if that person was raped. Okay, so the reason why I'm doing this video for you is because I think in Alabama or Mississippi, I'm not sure of what state it is, we have a 13-year-old and a 12-year-old female and a 13-year-old male who has gotten pregnant, and they understand that this young boy is the father of that child, and they gave them a baby shower, I believe. So these types of, behaviors was unknown because that person cannot provide for that child. That mother does not know enough. She has to be taught. So I'm glad that they caught the both of them together so that they cannot put the blame all on, the female, because it was both of them. It takes two of them to make a baby. They should not be throwing them a baby shower. From my perspective, from an indigenous perspective, this is what, my people were told. This is what was said to the males and the females. If you come home, and you have a baby out of wedlock, then you were made to drop out of school. You were looked down upon. You were made to, and I have to say it the way that the elders would say it to the my brothers and sisters, my cousins. I'm going to work you until your tongue dragged the ground. Okay, because you're going to take care of this baby. Those are the ones who would become the enslaved. Those are the ones who would become the uneducated in society, especially if it was, outside of being incest, rape, where the person had been harmed, where it was not their fault. Those people who intentionally set out, to marry outside of, wedlock, okay, out of ignorance, out of defiance, those types of people were looked down upon. Those types of people were, enslaved to the family. So this is the way that you will have a lot of the families that will come together and say, oh, that's not his child. They wasn't, knowing that these children were hanging together, the families were together, they were playing together, and they were not being, watched the way that they needed to be in order to, have these two young people. It says a lot about the parents. It says a lot about the parents that you're not doing your job, where these two young people can, sneak off somewhere under the house, behind the house, and create and have, intercourse and make a child that they cannot take care of in society. Okay, so this is how we understand what bastards will a lot of the people will say bastards in the ancient times. You had a bastard child. And I wanted you to understand that, having the hair and having the car, having the, being a hood rat. I'm sorry to say it like that, but I got to keep it 100. Okay. That is not a flex. That is not a flex. The flex was to be able to have a person in your life, to be able to have your pair, to be able to attract your pair, and to be able for you guys to be in one accord together in a marriage before God. Children who are born in marriages, they are stronger. They are they have their own mindset. They have a God-given strength to stand against evil. As with other people, and this is what we are saying. If your child is born outside of that, then in many cases they are weaker and they are susceptible to certain types of negative energy, to demonic attacks. And this is why that label is used in ancient times. It's used in this case, in many cases it's used as well, just to be born outside of wedlock. Okay, so we want to understand that the flex, when you are coming from a spiritual perspective, a flex is if you were born inside of a wedlock, your mother and father are married. The flex is if you are married, if you're teaching your kids to get married. Okay, and the flex is being able to monitor your children. Your girl children should be monitored more than your male children, because you have to absolutely tell them that if you get, pregnant by this little boy, you're going to stay with his family. You're not staying here. You're going to get married. You're going to get married to this little boy, and his family is going to have to take care of you. So this is what we would do as the indigenous people, unless it was in extreme cases where, the person was, attacked, with incest. Especially if the person was attacked with an SA. Okay, so these are the only times outside of that would not be applied, but that child still would be called a bastard, because in many cases the male who attacked these types of people would go to jail. A lot of the girls who were attacked in this way by the family or by people were made to have that child. Okay, there are certain instances that there is a lot of abuse that comes for even those people who were harmed in that way. Okay, so this is why that you do not want to have your young children 12 and 13 years old is very young to have a child and do grown-up things, deeds, intercourse, and you're having a baby shower for them. You want to make sure that you set the standard high for your males and your females, but especially your males, especially your females, because in reality, that male that marries her in that way has to be able to take care of her, or the family will have to take care of her. Okay, so when we have the two families that are not watching their kids, that are allowing them to run free, that are giving them the green light that it's okay to do what they have done, then the family is also held accountable for their acts, for their behavior, because they have been coerced, they have seen too much. They are no longer, allowed to be in a child's place. And therefore, you have produced, these children who will ultimately be labeled in society 1333, as I'm saying that, because of the spiritual nature. We understand that, you have allowed this as the parents. This is what your culture is in your homes, and you are to be shunned because, many of you, may have been also born in this way outside of wedlock. And that is for, I don't want to use that word, okay, with you. So now that we're understanding why and what the flex is, why you're not allowed to let your children, you have to be very stern with your girl children. And this is what I'm going to teach a lot of you, a lot of the women who have been reaching out to me about what to do about their girl children who have, had babies, those who are coming of age, who haven't reached puberty yet. We're going to be discussing that. A lot of you have reached out to me and is saying that, you're not going to allow your girl children to live in your house. But I also say, what have you been exposing and allowing to go on? on their internet, you should be checking what is on the phone, especially if you bought it. If they do not want you to see what is on their phone and check their phone and stay in a child's place, then you should not be paying for, those types of things for them. What they're seeing on TV, what they're seeing on the internet. So if you are allowing certain things, then you cannot put them out when they, in turn do certain things and act out the way that you have allowed them to act in your presence, in your home, with your materials. So, I hope that you received this message, and reach out to me again about how we can curb these types of behaviors. Reach out to me so you can book your one-on-one life coaching sessions. And I hope you received this knowledge. Please like, share, and subscribe to me over all of my platforms. You can also book your life coaching sessions or your video chat sessions. Donate or give in offerings to me in my description. I'm High Oracle Reiki Spiritual Healer. Assalamu alaikum.